Okay. So as I mentioned before, the three topics we're going to talk about is Haiti, and then how to make the country leader choosing process a little bit easier for people and a little bit less of notification overload. And then we might talk about who we're looking at to do next, what countries we're looking at to do next.
Okay.
So first of all, Haiti, I think we all were, um, uh, we got a good response from people on LinkedIn. It was like about 100 people, but not a lot of them were able um, to fulfill the needs required to be a country leader. But we cut it down to about like 5 or 10 people that would be a decent candidate, and we chose one that was pretty decent, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then so now he started applying all of the documents that we have to be aligned with the international youth courts to be associated with the Haiti youth courts. So we transferred all the documents and we created a logo and things like that. And now we're just waiting for registration fees, which is around 50,000 good, Haitian good, or around 500 USD.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was just going to send it to him and then let him register, and then start on the next countries right after that. But it seems there's an issue with Western Union and my ability to pay him just online, which is a difficulty because most of the places are shut down at the moment.
Right.
Um,
Is there any possibility that the payment could be made, directly to the entity? Would that make it easier?
like the organization,
Yes, that's right.
it hasn't been registered yet. So like you'd have to register it and then you'd be able to pay money to it. So once
Oh,
we
got it.
register, then we'd be able to do that. But the registration fee is already 500, and so that's the complication we have right now.
Got it.
Yeah. But I have family there, which is good to have, especially during our first situation. I'm glad that we chose Haiti over another country that we don't have all the resources and things like we do have. So I might be able to contact him and he might be able to give the money to him directly. And then I'll just pay him later or something like that. I'm still navigating those options because he still has to look through what the thing is, and he warned me about dealing with lawyers and certain professions in these underdeveloped countries. But it's a risk that I'm willing to take in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, everything was pretty smooth sailing. Yeah, other than that, everything was pretty smooth.
That's great.
Yeah. And as for the choosing process, for the next country leaders, I was thinking instead of having every applicant shared to everyone, just wait until we have like at least 10 or 20 applicants that we really like, and then sharing those people. Does that interest you, or do you like how it was before? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that, you know, having the overall board, you know, help with the next phase of selection. So there are some people that are going to apply that, you know, aren't a direct match for the role. And, you know, then you have the next phase of selection where you have some possibilities. And then, of course, the final phase is the candidates that are, you know, serious finalists for the job.
Right.
So yeah, I do agree with that.
So should I wait until we do the video interviews and then share the video interviews, or just share like the number of select few that we think would be a good selection to have interviews with? Like the few that we should have interviews with, or wait until we do the interviews and then share the interviews?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I apologize, you know, with this last round, you know, that I wasn't as active, the selection process. But one of the things that, you know, may be helpful is, you know, since it is an investment of time to get to know the candidates, that, you know, maybe the video interviews are shared with the candidates that reflect the strongest match for the role.
Okay, so like you mean after we do all the interviews, share the interviews that we already did with the person that we choose, or share them with the board, share all of them with the board?
I think share them with the board.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, that makes sense. I think I did that last time, but that was after all of the other notifications, and sometimes people get a notification overload and kind of shut it out. So I can understand that. There's a lot of notifications.
The other thing that may be helpful, Henry, is if you outline the expectations and the level of participation that you're seeking from the board members. You know, so for example, if you just, you know, have a brief outline of, you know, this is our next step, you know, this is, you know, the number of candidates that we anticipate to see, this is how we're going to go through the first level of selection. Your input in your activity is invited and appreciated at X juncture, you know, so that it's a little bit more clear, you know, to your volunteer support where their input is most valuable and most needed.
Right. Okay. That's a good idea. This was my first, our first selection and first series, so I wasn't really sure what parts would be most useful. So I kind of just shared everything, but that makes more sense. I think now that I've gone through this situation, I think.
Yeah, we learned by trial and error. You know, the other thing too is that you just recently put your board together. So, you know, you did a great job with assembling people from all over the world, you know, to participate in this endeavor with you. And, you know, that selection had just been finalized. So I think, there may have been, some people that didn't necessarily understand, where their input was going to fit in.
Right. Okay. I think I can be more clear about that, I don't know if I shared with everyone the description, but I will do that. I'll definitely do that.
Yeah, I think that we did get the description, which is really helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I can add like what specific details about the choosing of the country leaders would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can reshare that document with you guys.
That's great.
Yeah. But to reiterate, so you're saying that it would be good just to share the recordings of the interviews with you guys, and that would be like a decent amount of time commitment and response to the situation.
That's my opinion. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you is there more support that I could be providing you, as you work to, flesh out this organization?
I think it's just as I go, I'll probably find more problem spots or things that we would need help with. I think at first I know how I want it to be set up and the pieces that I want to build and things like that, but I think some of them are gonna have to come or wait until after we start choosing and have a couple or a few country leaders and some programs developed. Like I wanted to create the counseling board to help with the counseling, which I was having trouble with, but I think that might have to wait until we have a couple of country leaders and have some programs set up so we can actually have some context of what people are going to be doing and have people to deliver the product to. Because right now there's
Right.
like all theoretical and things like that.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I think as I go, things will come up, and we'll just have to work with what comes up and the issues and problems and the successes that will happen. I think I found that the country leader position might be more sought after than I expected, and it might be a little bit easier than I had thought in the past. But yeah, I think probably when it comes to coming to North America and the USA, we'll probably need more support from the North American people and stuff like that, getting the word out and support with different aspects of that endeavor, because it might be more difficult in different places. But
Right. I agree. Well, the other thing too is that the job title in and of itself, before a candidate might read through the whole job description, the job title is very attractive. So So I think that there's going to be a strong candidate response just based upon the job title.
Right. Yes, and I saw that I wasn't able to use the title country leader in the LinkedIn description. So I guess it'd be national director / country leader. But I think people understand when I explain to them. But national director is very similar to like what we were talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, like you said, that was just surprising to me that yeah, I guess it is a very attractive job title. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, okay. All right. So thank you for that input. And I'll work on that. I'll write it down actually. More descriptions. And then for the next countries, moving on to the next countries we're going to choose. I was going to think of of Jamaica is another place where I have familial connections, and the United Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, United Kingdom would be um, one of the developed countries, and it might be difficult to register and do certain things there. But uh, I think if we're able to do the United Kingdom, then we'd be able to get a lot of these other places much easier. Um, just based off of the I don't know what you'd like to call it, the reputation and whatnot. It might be easier to sell to other places. Um,
You mean if we were able to establish in the UK that it would be easier to then replicate that in other countries?
Not necessarily replicate, but it would be easier to uh, promote in other countries. Like
Oh,
if it's only the first one in each country, like that's a little bit harder to sell. To say like you'd be the first. Some countries aren't that emboldened by new ideas and things like that. But if UK has done it or is on board, then a lot of other countries would be like, oh, okay, then it's an established thing. Even though I think the UK has a similar system and a legal system in a lot of the Commonwealth. So that's like Canada, Australia, um, it used to be Hong Kong, some other countries. But
right. Yeah, there's a lot of countries in the Commonwealth.
right. Uh, but I think even America's in there. But legally, uh, I think America is much different, and some of the other places might be a little bit more different. But I can think of Canada having a very similar civil system, and probably Australia as well, because they were like the most recent independent countries, or they got their
Right.
independence. But I think some of the other countries would probably have similar system. It's it's very uh, they might be similar, but a lot of differences. So that's what I'm hoping that the similarities will carry over more than the differences. But yeah. But the system probably, yeah, like I said, it might be easier for Canada and Australia, but promotionally and like marketing wise, it would be much better.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing I just want to mention, which I'm sure you're probably already thinking of, is that, you know, during this time of COVID, when unemployment has gone up because a lot of, you know, people all over the world have lost their jobs due to COVID, as different, you know, companies have either furloughed or, you know, stopped production.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, you may have, you know, an even more intense response.
Yeah, that's true. I was also thinking that in this time when schools but I was told that by Charlene that in this time where schools are shut down, it'd be a good time to start working and start talking to schools and universities on how to adapt this program into their normal school system. But especially summer too, so it
Right.
goes hand in hand. But yeah, yeah. So yes, that's true. COVID is like, I guess, an opportunity, but also it hampers a lot of things. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it does.
so but I think one of the issues it might be is retaining some of these people after COVID is over.
Right.
Um,
I
hopefully,
agree.
that we find people that would be really interested and maybe continue even after they get another job or get back to normal life. But it's an understandable prospect. People want to do work and do things that can be lucrative, especially when they don't have any prospects and stuff like that. But
Right.
I think
Agree.
thinking about that, we'd have to watch out for that to see if it's yeah, see if those good matches are for people. I think that should be another question, I guess, to add to the interview process, whether or not this is a long-term or just a COVID relief kind of opportunity or something. Let me write that down. So what do you think about doing 2 at a time? Because that's what I was thinking of doing, Jamaica and UK at the same time, since I found that the whole process was not too hard for me. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I definitely think that that you could do 2 searches at the same time.
Okay. And then if it's streamlined, then we could do more, I guess. But I don't want to overload everyone. So,
Mhm.
but like I found this one was pretty easy, except for like the after process. But so maybe, or definitely, we're gonna try 2 at a time, and then. But I wanna get this Haiti one down first, at least registered, and then I can move on. I don't know if that's a good idea or I should just move on now and then um, see what happens. Because
Um,
there's
well, I
questions.
think it just, yeah, yeah, I think it just depends upon your bandwidth.
Right.
And then just remember that like the first couple of days that you post a job, um, is when, generally speaking, is when you get 75% of your candidates, within those first 5 days.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah. Because generally speaking, people that are searching, they'll set up alerts for the job that they're searching for.
Mhm.
And, a lot of candidates will assume that if a job has been posted for more than 7 days, and especially on LinkedIn, where a candidate can tell how many applicants, sometimes people are dissuaded from putting their application in if they see that the application already has, like 80 candidates. They're like, oh, well, selection is probably heavily underway.
Right.
I won't put my hat in the ring.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think with the first one I shared with a lot of smaller groups, like Haitian, like different LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups, which kind of boosted the later applicants. But
Right.
I think if I do that in advance, like do all those smaller groups at the same time, then I think it might be, like you said, it might get more the first couple days.
Right. And then the
Yeah.
hardest part of selection, I've always found is actually, going through the candidates that did apply. You might have 100 candidates for one job. And so you try to be very, judicious and thoughtful as, you reject candidates that aren't the best match. So,
Right. Right. And hopefully the same way that this last group did, they're willing to also be a part of the organization if they don't get the job, because it's every hand is helpful in
that's
this.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Um,
How somebody is treated during the selection process is actually a really big way that companies build their brand. And sometimes companies don't always think about that, and they just think of, selection and hiring as an HR function, but it's building, the organization's reputation.
right. That's yeah. That's good. That's a good thought. So there's a little bit more pressure, but it's it's a good thought.
Well, it is because, to your point, and I really do love your perspective, is that if someone, doesn't get a role, we still want them to participate and collaborate with the association.
Right. Yeah.
And people are more likely to do that if they feel like they've been handled well during the selection process.
Right. That is true. Yeah. So that is something I would keep in mind. Um, is there anything else that we'd like to talk about before? I think that's everything. We covered Haiti, the problems, and then the selection process, and then the next steps, the next countries.
Yep. Yep.
Anything else?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, I think that's it. Thanks for your input, and thank you for coming today, Janet.
Well, thank you, Henry. You have a really big vision. And so, I really enjoy the opportunities that we have, to hear directly from you, how you see this association evolving and having an impact on youth courts.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are here to hear me. So I'm not just talking to myself, but
Right.
but thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay then. Yeah. So see you next month, or hear from you next month.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I will be in contact through email and messaging for everything else.
Sounds perfect.
Okay, cool.
All right. Enjoy your month.
Yes, you too. Have a good one.
All right. Bye, Henry.
Bye.